Communication is about creating meanings. We create or assign meanings for ourselves and our activities as we communicate and interact with other people. In other words, it is impossible for us to have successful communication if we don't put meaning in our conversations or interactions. In this video, we will talk about how we shape meaning through perception. We will examine how perception influences how we see ourselves and others, and how communication influences our perception and vice versa. We will look at the process of perception, identify factors that affect our perceptions, and at the end of the video, we will look at some ways that will help us enhance our perception. Ready? Let's begin. According to Julia Wood, in everyday communication, our words affect how we perceive others, situations, events, behaviors, and ourselves. At the same time, our perceptions shape what things mean to us and hence the labels we use to name them. We communicate with others according to how we perceive and define them, and we may miss opportunities when our labels limit what we perceive. In this statement, we can define perception as an active process of creating meaning by selecting, organizing, and interpreting people, objects, events, and other phenomena. Julia Wood's definition of perception mentions three processes of perception: selecting, organizing, and interpreting. We will discuss them one by one later. Take note that these processes influence one another. The first process is selection. Try to pause for a while and listen to your surroundings. As soon as you do that, you will start to notice your noisy neighbor, or your dog barking, or people in the house chatting. As soon as you become aware of your surroundings, your attention will shift to them and you will become less aware of listening and watching this lecture. That is how the selection process works. You become attentive or aware on something that catches your attention or on something that you consider or see as important. And this may cause to shift your awareness or your attention. Some factors that may affect our selection are the things that stand out, change, noise, motives, needs, and culture. The next process is organization. We organize what we notice and attribute meaning to it by using prototypes, personal constructs, stereotypes, and scripts. A prototype is the most representative example of a category. In other words, your ideal for each category. You may have an ideal teacher, classmate, romantic partner, or even an ideal version of yourself. A personal construct is a mental ruler that we use to measure a person on a given spectrum. Examples of personal constructs are intelligent, not intelligent, attractive, not attractive, assertive, or not assertive. A stereotype is a predictive generalization about individuals and situations based on the category in which we place them. A script is a guide to action in particular situations which are based on our experiences and observations. We may have scripts when we talk to our professors, or when we order food, or when we manage conflicts. These cognitive schemas are used to organize our perceptions, and they reflect our perspectives or cultures. The last process is interpretation. We assign meaning by interpreting what we have noticed and organized. We interpret the meaning through attribution. Interpretation of meaning and perception depends on the locus, stability, specificity, and responsibility. Of course, we also commit attributional errors such as having a self-serving bias, which is constructing attributions that serve our personal interest. Another attributional error is fundamental attribution error, where we are more likely to underestimate one and overestimate the other. An example of this is we blame others more and less likely to blame ourselves, when there is a point that you are more likely to be blamed. Now, what are the factors that influence our perception? One factor is physiology. Our perceptions vary depending on how our body works. We might perceive things negatively if we are tired or stressed, or we might perceive things positively if we feel at peace or comfortable. Changes in our bodies, whether hormonal, physical, or chemical changes, may also affect our perception. Another factor is our expectations. We may set a particular expectation on something, and that expectation may affect how we perceive on that thing. Another factor is age. As we grow older, we also experience more, and our age and experiences affect how we perceive things. If you put a child and an old person in the same room, they will have different perceptions on what or how they see the room. Another factor is culture. How we select, organize, and interpret the stuff around us depends on our social location or a particular social group where we belong, and roles, or how our culture assigns roles in the society we belong to. Another factor is cognitive abilities, or how we think about situations and people. Our cognitive systems are more complex than children, but they often vary depending on our experiences and our knowledge, and this variation affects our perception. The last factor is one of the most important factors that affect perception, and that is the self. Our continuous symbolic interaction through communication molds our identity or self-concept. The feedbacks we receive, the meanings we assign, and our experiences shape who we are and how we see the world and the people around us. Our perceptions are limited by our experiences and various social cultural contexts, and these things are reflected in our identity. So, how can we improve our perception skills? Here are some useful ways we can do. One is to recognize that all perceptions are partial and subjective. Another is to avoid mind reading and distinguish facts and inferences. Another way is to check perceptions with others. Another is to monitor labels. And finally, let us guard against the self-serving bias and the fundamental attribution error. We assign meaning according to our experiences, socio-cultural context, and identity. And we continue to widen and improve our perceptions through communication. In order to become better at communicating with others, we have to be aware of our perceptions and that people also have perceptions too. Knowing how to perceive ourselves and others will help us understand meaning, use appropriate and more effective language or nonverbal cues, and finally, relate to others and to ourselves.